Furthermore, there are, at least by our knowledge, 11 different nuclear power plant proposals, and we're talking about in the regulatory and planning stages and announced on the Canadian side, which have been addressed not at all. 4 of those are at the Bruce Peninsula, which is approximately 200 miles almost due north of where we sit. 3 for the Nanticoke area, which is about 180 miles in a straight, not due east, but somewhat slightly northeast on the Lake Erie shore of Ontario. Pickering plant, which I believe is on, did I say Ontario, Lake Erie? Pickering plant, which is on Lake Ontario, there's a proposal for 4 new units there. We believe, number one, it's a mistake to believe, to conclude that the wind always blows from one direction. We do have nor'easters in the Great Lakes area. Number two, when you look at the other regulatory views that have become established policy, such as NPDES, cumulative effects analysis, as well as the utilities' own environmental report references, it appears that they're using the entirety of Lake Erie in averaging out thermal and other types of effects. So we believe that it is a very appropriate request for this panel to order and require changes in a region basin, and I'm not talking about just the Western Lake Erie Basin, a Great Lakes Basin-wide cumulative effects analysis be performed and undertaken.
Does it give you any, does it help address your concern that they will in fact be required to obtain what's called an NPDES permit or Clean Water Act permit, and that I would think it very likely that whether that's issued directly by EPA or by the state of Michigan, I would think they would take into account the total impact on the Great Lakes, or at least the western part of Lake Erie, whatever they thought impacts might.
As I indicated, we believe, first of all, it depends an awful lot on what snapshot in time the NPDES determination is made because of these uprates and requests that are pending, as well as I indicated, the fact that there's essentially in the ER as it presently is written, zero consideration of the environmental effects of having 11 new nuclear powered reactors on the Great Lakes, 4 of which are upstream and, if you will, upwind of the Detroit-Monroe area. Essentially what we ask the board to avoid is a segmentation of this proposal down into its sort of some sort of arbitrarily defined local region. We believe that it's not the board's role to decide how many straight line miles are too many. You know, what plant is too far away to be considered for a cumulative effects analysis? Because, as we say, we're talking about a regional and a multi-state regional watershed here. I've been talking about contentions 1 and 6. I would like to yield about 2 minutes, if there's still that type of time, to Michael Keegan to talk about number 14.
Okay, I think you do have about 4 minutes, actually.
Thank you. The question was, how does number 14 differ from 1 and 6? Number 14 addresses thermal pollution. The plant is allowed to discharge 17,000 gallons per minute. That equates to, comes out to 72 acre foot of temperature up to 96 degrees. I consider that a thermal impact. I'm concerned about the biocides, slimicides, molluscicides, which are being used. These are toxic chemicals. There are plans to use a phosphoric acid, about 3.45 tons per day. That breaks down into phosphorus, which combined with the thermal pollution compounds a algal bloom potential. And in the last 3 years, we've seen the introduction of a toxic algal bloom, Lingbaia walleye, and that if you swim through.
Maybe to spell that one, is that a name for a species?
Yes, it is. It's a blue-green algae. It's Lyngbyawollei, and it is not at all addressed throughout their ER. So we have high phosphorus that the plant will be emitting, compounded with phosphorus coming down through the Detroit River. This will lead to the eutrophication of Lake Erie. We saw Lake Erie dying in the 60s, and the last 3 years have seen high algal blooms. The ultimate heat sink is the atmosphere, and the second part of contention number 14 is a concern for the atmosphere and microclimates which could occur. There would be 17,000 gallons per minute of evaporation coming off of the cooling towers in a fog, which could potentially have microorganisms, free-living amoeba, Legionnaire's disease, the Ligaria infections. So we're concerned about the atmosphere, the microclimates it would create. In addition, the plant, a ESBWR, which has never been run, they are saying that there would be 49 million gallons per day of intake, and that is just under the trigger of 50 million gallons per day that the Clean Water Act requires for a 316B and A. And so what we would argue is that with the combination of the Fermi 2 and the Fermi 3, you're really looking at close to 100,000, up to 100 million gallons per day being taken, and all being snuck in under the 316A and 16B, which would call for a full thermal evaluation and a full evaluation of entrainment and impingement of fish. So we feel that they should not be allowed to combine this under one NPDES permit, and that it is that close to the 50 million trigger that they should be required to pursue that 316A and B.
On that issue, I mean, we're generally not. You're making an argument that may well be relevant to the Clean Water Act, but we're not. This board does not administer the Clean Water Act. EPA does. In terms of what's in the environmental report, can you give me some specific idea of what you think is deficient concerning the issues you've just been talking about? They did have something to say, as I remember, about thermal impacts, about entrainment, and those things. What are you saying? There's something they omitted that they should have discussed in more detail? Or?
Well, we may be at a tipping point. The walleye and the perch, which provides for literally billions of dollars of tourism in this region, Michigan and Ohio, is at the brink, and just one more entrainment, one more impingement of these species could be the tipping point. They say comparatively to what's going on at other coal-fired plants, it's minimal, but it's one more additive. What they have relied on is Fermi 2 data, which is from 1970s. They have not updated the data. So it's really, we're talking about data that's 40 years old, and we feel that it's necessary to do current data analysis.
Mr. Keegan?
Yes.
Did I hear you characterize an effluent of 96 degrees when you were talking about the regional impact?
96 degrees coming off Fermi 3 in a blow-down scenario.
And how many gallons?
It translates, 17,000 gallons per minute, and that translates into 17 acre-feet per day of up to 96 degrees.
This is the discharge from the
Fermi 3.
from the cooling tower, or into the
No, the discharge out the outflow.
blow down.
Yes. And then in combination with the Fermi 2, which would be approximately close to that.
The microclimates from the cooling tower of Fermi 3, can you characterize them? Are they more significant, less significant than Fermi 2? Are they similar?
Well, it would be an additive. You've got huge thermal plants sitting right here. You've got close to the world's largest coal burner. You've got the Fermi 2 and potentially Fermi 3. And so you can't just, in my opinion, not to look at just one. You need to look at the three in combination, that we are creating a potentially devastating situation. In addition, the particulate matter coming off the coal burner could contribute compound matters.